Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation, bringing you guys a game between Mouz Sports and Virtus.Pro. This is a best-of-3 series. This is their first matchup here in the Premier League Season 4, and looking forward to it. I'm Blaze. I'm here with Rainmaker, and we're going to have some awesome fun with this game here.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Kind of growing up watching Dota over the past 5 years, names like Kuroki, NS, Santa, these are things that, really take me back, and these are kind of the people I used to watch when I first got into the scene. So it's really cool for me as a player and now as a caster to go and watch them play. And already we see some pretty interesting bans. You don't normally see a Magnus ban, but Virtus.Pro has used that hero very effectively, and if Magnus is able to go and have a good initiation, no matter how far behind you are, you can go and completely take that team fight. So very powerful. And the rest of the bans I feel are fairly more standard.
Yeah, pretty much. The Keeper Light being one of those very powerful picks just to start off strong in the laning phase to move in towards the late game. They have tons of different ways to control the lane. Even in a 3v3 situation, Keeper Light is one of the more powerful supports and has a lot of movement speed to allow you to zone and continuously stack and pull very frequently, be very active in the lane there. But the first pick that's going to come out is Gyrocopter. Most likely Black going to pick that up. He loves that hero. Of course, it can be played in multiple roles, even in a solo mid circumstance, but more often than not, we do see Gyrocopter farmed up aggressively, and it's an interesting first pick. How do you feel about it?
10 seconds remaining.
Oh, I love Gyrocopter on the first pick. I think he's one of the carries that can be most active throughout the beginning of the game. And with that, he's basically able to control the pace of the game while going and moving very... Oh my god, I forgot Wisp was in the pool. But he's able to go and scale very well while, still being so strong in the early game with his Rocket Barrage. But I cannot believe Wisp got through.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking, but yeah, that's insane.
Pretty ridiculous. He's considered definitely one of the top 3 supportive heroes, and the dynamic aspect of that hero, where he has such global presence at level 6, opens up whole new ways to shut down the enemy. If you have good aggressive wards up in the enemy's jungle, or even in the lanes, you will be able to find opportunities to find somebody out of position and just go huge aggression. A lot of times he's paired with a aggressive strength carry that relies on attack speed, such as Tiny, Sven, or Chaos Knight. But even the Darkseer, those two together pop off an Iron Shell on both, as the cooldown is shorter than the duration, then that's going to allow them to just dish out a ton of damage on the relocate ganks and make sure that anybody caught even slightly out of position will pay the price. So it's a really solid combo right off the bat. A Wisp will most likely be going towards the top lane, supporting whichever carry they select, with Darkseer going on the off lane on bottom.
Yeah, Blaze, you're getting a little bit robotic for me, so I'm going to hang up the call and call you right back.
Sure thing. But beyond that, it looks like Mouz Sports is going to be trying to figure out where they want to go from there. And all in all, they have a lot of different options. They really need to round out their lanes and pick up something more supportive. With the Nyx and Keeper the Light out, and the Shadow Demon would be a very common selection. It can actually purge off things like the Darkseer Surge and Iron Shell. But beyond that, it's kind of really... They have so many different options. They just have to decide where they really want to go from here. If they want to focus on their mid lane, maybe pick up like an off-lane bounty hunter, or put up some aggression where they can roam around and control runes more aggressively. They really need to make sure that they have more map presence. Gyrocopter will secure their lane rather effectively, but beyond that, they want to have a reach across the board that they need to keep that in mind. But Mouz has a really interesting style where they start out with a quick punch in the laning phase and try to win lanes through that method, and then after that are transitioning and just use kind of an overwhelming amount of items to transition well. But with the Lifestealer pickup, I'm curious if the Gyrocopter is even going to be carried at all. I think that more likely he's going to be seen on the mid lane with Lifestealer as a focus carry, perhaps on an aggressive tri lane with Rubik.
Yeah, actually, it might just be also the Gyrocopter solo in the safe lane against the Darkseer. There are multiple teams that have been doing that right now. Oh, and why am I keeping on getting message? Okay, excuse me while I go completely invisible, because this is getting tremendously frustrating.
All right. But yes, I completely agree with what you're saying. We see that very frequently where you can run a Luna or a Gyro or just one of those other very item-reliant carries that can 1v1 effectively on the safe lane bottom. So if Gyrocopter's pressured, he can swap around, but in general, he has enough attack range to get a good few last hits in a high-pressure situation, and then he is a great 1v1 hero with the homing missile and the barrage, both of those just making sure that he can dominate the lane very effectively. But this Bane pickup changes things a little bit. With the Virtus.Pro picking up the Bane, they have the potential to disable this Lifestealer pretty hardcore, whether through the Enfeeble, which will not be dispelled by Rage, or with the Fiend's Grip coming on out and piercing right through that magic immunity as well. So they have a lot of positional control, whether from the Surge to make sure that a lowly Wisp or something like that, whose tether is on CD, can escape out of an open wounds, followed after telekinesis, that kind of thing. Yeah, they have a good escape mechanism, they have a good lockdown, and in general, I really like the team that Virtus.Pro is building when it comes down to team fights and pickoffs.
Yeah, but I think that Mouse Sports, their goal right now is to go and continue to pick up AoE supports like this Rubik. The biggest problem they'll have facing Virtus.Pro is that if Virtus.Pro is able to get a few early towers, it's going to be very, very difficult for Mouse Sports to get their farm on the Gyrocopter and the Lifestealer. With the bans, I think they'll go out and ban maybe a Tiny now, maybe a... I think they might let the Sven pass, but I doubt it. If they go and ban out those heroes and kind of force Virtus.Pro into not being able to be super, super aggressive in the early game and allow Mouse Sports to keep their outer towers to go and farm for a little bit longer, I think they will have an advantage. Gyrocopter, Lifestealer, and Rubik all scale very well into the late game, and while Darkseer, fares tremendously in the late game, and Wisp basically gives your carry a free cheese when he picks up a mechanism and bottle, they're still not quite as good, I believe, especially if you consider Rubik is able to seal a vacuum or, God forbid, a dark wall. Also, I believe you said that, but the fact that Bane's ulti is channeled makes it fairly easy to steal as well. And there is the tiny ban.
Yeah, they possibly will just ban out all the good carries that can coincide with the Wisp right here, which would be appropriate drafting style there, so presumably the last one would be the Sven to take off the board. And from there, with the Lifestealer already picked up by Mouse Sports, which I think is just really good, a long-term thought process as far as being, okay, well, if there's 4 great carries that can go with Wisp, they can pick up the Lifestealer themselves, ban the other 3, and now you're stuck with going for something super late game like a Faceless Void to try to benefit from the Wisp specifically. I mean, you can go for just a standard carry in general. Luna could go perfectly fine, but you don't really have that presence of Wisp getting into the fray with that tether and stunning people up and then ganking across the map with Relocate. It just isn't as promising when you don't have one of those key synergetic heroes.
Yes, I really think that, with Wisp, you want a hero that has a pretty consistent stun, like the Chaos Bolt, like the Stormhammer. They do ban out Luna, though, but I think the reason is they're not terribly afraid of a Sven, because the Nakes can rage. Rubik's Lift is very effective. Gyrocopter, if he goes for the phase drums build, he can go and just run away fairly easily. And Gyrocopter is a very good BKB carry because he gets a ton of natural damage just from his flat cannon. So I don't believe they're terribly afraid of that hero, and they don't want the game to go too late. Luna does eventually become a terrible thing to deal with, and with Wisp, that attack speed steroid coming from the tether is fairly problematic to deal with as well.
Very true, very true. So the Luna being taken out, that's really going to change their mindset. Do you think that the Sven is going to be appropriate, or do you think they need to go for something more oriented towards late game? Since the Daedalus nerf, it feels like Sven doesn't really pack the punch that he used to. He used to just rush out the Mask of Manus, BKB, and Daedalus, and from there just cleave on through anybody that gets vacuumed in. And the vacuum will help out for if they want to go for a Sven pick, with the Great Cleave really doing so much AoE damage to synergize with that. But all in all, he hasn't been seeing as much play in a carry sense. I actually think I've seen him more often in a supportive role than I have in a carry. But either way, he still has a huge amount of damage to output with the God Strength, and we'll have to see if that's what they're going to be looking for or something else, as their carry is the only thing they're going to be looking for. But as far as this Puck goes, really, it's all about control. Puck with the Stream Coil sets it up so that everybody but Lifestealer can be completely locked down in a certain position, and they can follow up with a big vacuum into some big AoE damage output. Bane and Wisp don't really synergize with that too greatly, but even the overcharge to a amplified carry with Cleave would be really good. But these last 2 picks, Disruptor and Doom,
Yes, I think, Disruptor is also very good against those kind of melee carries like the Sven, because with Kinetic Field, you force them to get a BKB, and with a BKB, they're not going to have the tremendous early game damage that you might see from a fast Mask of Madness build, which, while risky, has a very high payoff. Also, the Doom basically shuts down every single hero on Virtus.Pro's lineup. We've been seeing a lot more offlane Dooms, we've been seeing some jungle Dooms, and I think teams are just realizing they are willing to pay the premium for that ultimate. Even though Doom isn't the best laning hero, he doesn't contribute that much to teamfights, even with the Scorched Scorched Earth upgrade. But his ultimate is enough to shut down that Bane, shut down that Puck, Darkseer, Wisp. They're all going to fall to this Doom. And if he is able to get any sort of, utility items for his team, drums, Necro Book, Shivas, anything that kind of helps his team out a little bit, he's going to still have an impact and allow his Gyrocopter and Nakes to do the majority of the carrying. But I love this Juggernaut pick. I think this is going to be a very aggressive Juggernaut, and it's going to help them out with pushing. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see something like a Soul Ring Juggernaut,
Sure.
where they go and spam out that healing ward and quickly get towers, and it works so well with the Wisp because the additional attack speed on any sort of hero with a crit and the increased move speed with Blade Fury, super relevant. Super relevant. This is a team that's looking for quick pickoffs and then transitioning that into tower pushes. In between a Puck with Blink Dagger, a Juggernaut with Omni Slash, Bane setting up, relocate ganks and Surge, they have the tools to do that. I definitely think that Mouz could... Oh, just a quick pause. I think Mouz can defend against this because they have a Rubik and a Disruptor who are some of the best defensive supports, but it's going to be very difficult. If Mouz starts to slip behind this game, Virtus.Pro can completely take it over.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, they do have that very surprisingly powerful tri lane of a Bane and the Wisp and the Juggernaut. What they can do with that is use the Nightmare to get in position for a Blade Fury Tether combo, stunning them out, having that movement speed, being able to deal the damage they need to whatever target they're going up against. So, in a situation where Doom would be off lane, that would be extremely favorable to be able to bring him down. I mean, he does have high HP and low armor, but magic damage is still going to be able to, when he's disabled that much, do quite a bit there. It looks like, as far as items go, PS is taking the Stout Shield and most likely will be going on the off lane for that reason. And I kind of feel like they're giving that lane away. Going in that situation, the Doom can't counter push hardly at all, and if he gets picked off at all, that tower can easily be forfeit, even though neither of the supports really have that much push themselves. You mentioned the attack speed with Overcharge early. That can help quite a bit, but it's not like a Leshrac with a Diabolic Edict. It's just, it helps out, it aids a little bit, but I think Juggernaut, of those three heroes, is the most push-oriented of them all.
Yes, I definitely think that Juggernaut, he allows them to push, but okay, looks like the game's about to start. But the other heroes, the creep clearing abilities from the Darkseer and the Puck means that you will have a lot of creeps to work with as well. And then if you're able to get anything like a reasonably timed mechanism, it's going to be enough for you to get the towers down. They don't have pushing heroes in the, like what the ones we normally think of, Lone Druid, even Pugna, that do additional damage to towers, but their lineup will be fairly good at it. I think the only hero that is definitely not good at pushing is the Bane, but the pickoffs you can get for Bane just set it up. It's definitely, they are going to have trouble going high ground, but beyond that, I can't see any problems. Oh no, where did they go?
Yeah, unfortunately, Hana, NS dropped out, and Santa will be coming back in as well. So, or no, KSI did. Sorry, NS was just talking. But yeah, it's going to be interesting here. The Darkseer should have no trouble at all on the bottom lane in general. I mean, the Rubik Telekinesis can hinder him a little bit, but I almost have a feeling that they might want to be looking towards Radiant mid pulls. They don't have too much as far as tree destruction, but just the position of Kurokai right now. He has a set of Tengas, he has boots, he can roam around quite a bit early on, and I guess that works for him because he's not all that mana reliant until he starts spamming Fade Bolt out. And wow, it looks like everybody is having just a little bit of an issue. I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah, I think Kuroki is actually going to be going for those mid pulls and just give that Juggernaut, rather the Gyrocopter, even more of an advantage in the lane. Because he doesn't need to help his bot lane, and that allows the Disruptor to get full farm from those pulls. And Disruptor is a very level hungry support, so this is I think a pretty good distribution of farm. Yes, the Doombringer is going to have a bad time, but if he plays it safe, I almost wish they had just pulled supplies on him to allow him to get boots, because he's only really going to be able to go walk up to Devour, and if he had those boots, I think he'd be able to play a little bit safer.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind
actually
of the
completely
same
agree with that.
concept of the Windrunner that gets pulled a bunch of regen and goes like boots, sticks.
Yeah, that would definitely be more up his alley because he only has 290 movement speed, and I guess Scorch Earth would amplify that a bit, but generally you're not going to be using that every time you get flanked in, and it's just going to put him in a really rough spot. Without a movement speed advantage, he is going to be just having a really tough time in that lane, and he'll pretty much just be huddling under his tower trying to survive for the time being. But meanwhile, one thing to keep in mind as far as scalability is that Lifestealer is probably the most late game oriented hero here. I mean, you might debate that Darkseer with an Aghanim's and a Refresher has more late game potential, but the fact is Lifestealer has the most right click damage out of any of these individuals late game. The crit is solid on Juggernaut, don't get me wrong, but Black, the way he farms, the way he just plays so aggressive as a carry, he just wants to make sure that he gets every single creep, doesn't miss a single one. He's very well practiced with that, and with that in mind, he can easily go into the next stage of the game with some big items, Armlet, Desolator, those kinds of things.
Yes, I think it's going to be a pretty difficult role for them to go and take this game super late. But at the same time, they are working with Fiend's Grip. They do have Dream Coil, the Darkseer Wall. Their supports are very good in the late game. So if anybody makes a mistake on the Radiant team, they can definitely swing it in their favor. They do have the ability to very heavily punish their enemies.
For sure, for sure. Interesting flank to gank right here. Kurokai is in an aggressive position, but what do you think NS wants to accomplish here other than popping off that ward? I guess just the timing of it. Getting it after the spawn would make sure that they can negate that, but speaking of negation, KSI not going to be able to pick up that double damage rune as Kurokai will just A-click that on down. But beyond that, most of them are not going to have real big intentions to take a look at each other. Doombringer is going to go instead into the jungle and not even worry about that offlane, as it would have just pretty much been suicidal for him. And with that, he'll be able to do quite a bit. He'll be getting some decent continuous farm if he's lucky a little bit on the neutral creeps. And in the meantime, Kurokai will handle the mid pull to deny puck as much as possible. So I would say this is like 2.5 one lanes for them if the Doombringer gets some good unharassed farm and they just give up a little bit to the Juggernaut.
Yes, once the Doombringer hits like level 3, maybe level 4, he can rotate top, and I don't think they'll be able to push that aggressively right now. You really want access into maybe if you're trying to push with a Juggernaut, and you don't have something like a THD to slow down a tower, maybe level 2 healing ward to really make it work, and a Basilius. So they don't have to worry about any early pressure right now. They are going to seed a bunch of farm on the enemy supports, and you do not want Wisp and Bane getting early levels in farm. But I think this is the best they could hope for with their lineup, and the fact that Doombringer is going to have access into that early level 6 more than makes up for it.
Yeah, that can be extremely effective. Like you said, it counteracts so many different heroes. If Puck can't phase shift and Ethereal Jaunt out of a position, he's pretty much completely screwed over with any single follow-up disable. And on top of that, the Darkseer is so reliant on getting that big ulti off, and the duration is extremely long on the Doom. It's up to 15 seconds, and it pretty much takes them out of the fight for the entire relevant period. So yeah, you can get a pretty cool wall of replica vacuum at the very end of it, but if Doom picks you off at the beginning, it's already too late unless you fall back appropriately.
Yep. And with this Doom having picked up that Shockwave, I wouldn't even be surprised to see him start stacking him, the large camps and get even more of an advantage that way. Meanwhile, in mid lane, the Puck is getting completely shut down. I'm surprised he even has 5 CS, considering he's going against Kuroki's Rubik at the same time, and Fata has a ton of damage on Gyrocopter with that early Wraith Band. I really like this build if you're going mid with a hero that normally won't, because if you're not looking to control the runes very aggressively, then just having a huge base damage advantage completely lets you completely take over the lane just by denying almost every creep. But Puck is doing a pretty good job. You know, even with only that level 1 illusory orb, just means the last thing is going very well for the Dire team here.
Yeah. Fortunately for him, Puck does have a pretty decent base damage, and accompanying that with the +6 intellect, he will be able to get some good right clicks in. And unfortunately, Kurokai's transition in with the Rubik really hasn't put him too much pressure on out. Yeah, he has the telekinesis if he needs it, but I don't feel that Puck felt threatened at any point in time, and TMW just going to be able to get some nice CS here, going just 2 behind in both fast hits and denies. In the meantime, Juggernaut moving up towards 15 CS, and on the bottom, it is Black farming up, topping out the charts at 19. So he's doing really well, and he's going to be jumping up into some bigger items, possibly just going for phase boots or treads really early on, so that he can be active in the team fight. And from there, or actually no, with his free farm, Black is going to go for Midas. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, with that much free farm, Black's going to be perfectly fine with Midas. Yeah,
this is going to be something like a 5-minute Midas, maybe a little bit. So he's already got the recipe now, so he's looking at something like a 5-minute Midas. This is going to be pretty strong. This is going to be very, very dangerous for the enemies to go on, because with that fast Midas, even just the levels, his rage is going to get a little bit too high. He's going to get access to that vest early. And is there a gank somewhere?
No, Santa was just dropping down to critical HP. I freaked out for a second. 25 HP, so a little bit of a risky play, but I guess neutrals are rather predictable. In general, Kurokai coming up top, this might have been a mistake. Coming in, he gets nightmared up for the time being. Here comes the Blade Fury to follow out with that tether. Nice timing. Kurokai's going to be the first blood. Starting it off, that's Airman taking that down, and yeah, he's going to not only get that last hit gold that he's been accumulating, possibly this tower last hit, but of course the first blood. Adding those together, and he's actually going to shoot way ahead of what Black's been able to accomplish thus far.
Yeah, they definitely did a really good job. They stacked did a small pull, not going and let the creeps double up, and that was enough for them to get it. Even without access into that ring of Basilius, they have a ton of creeps even waiting right now, so I was definitely underestimating the amount of damage with spirits due to creeps. They're actually able to mow them down fairly quickly.
Yeah, so now looking at the GPM...
What do you think about it? Wait, he's maxing crit.
Yeah, that's an interesting build, not going Blade Fury at all. Apparently he presumes that if he can close the distance and get set up for Wisp Tether, he wants to make sure the overcharge is giving him as much DPS as possible, and that's going to be through the Blade Dance, making sure he can crit up. I mean, it's a very reliable crit, going up to 35% chance, double damage. It's not crazy bursty, but it's very consistent, and so you get a lot of attack speed. You can just crit over and over and over, and you can dish out quite a bit. So he's going to follow that up with some big auto attack items, maybe move in towards Manta style later, but beyond that, it's been really, really good for him right off the bat in the laning phase, taking that tower and now putting so much into the tier 2 on top as well. They need to do something to counteract this, but with Doombringer being such a unfortunately ineffective hero, low presence hero I should say, prior to level 6, it's just they don't really have too much to answer back with.
Yep, and beyond that, even when Doom does hit level 6, he's going to be terrible at countering these pushes. They're having a ton of trouble right here, and I think that's a very good decision on Airman's part to go for that Blade Dance build, because you're definitely right. And also, with his farm, he can go and pick up a really big damage item. Another interesting thing to notice, okay, Black did end up going for that Midas, but he was actually holding on to his gold for maybe a couple extra hundred. I think the reason there was he wanted to make sure that he didn't need to go and pick up an item and just jump into combat right away. So really good awareness from Black, not committing into his Midas until he knew it wouldn't cost his team too much.
For sure, for sure. In the meantime, on the mid lane, we are looking at Puck actually topping out just barely against the Gyrocopter, and Puck is actually going to be able to dodge out a call down here, so Fada is going to be committing a lot of mana to no avail, and with that, I believe the rune, will be picked up. Regeneration up on Puck pretty much secures him. If Dota was a 1v1 game, I would say that TMW would have a huge advantage compared to the Gyrocopter, but of course there's lots of factors to consider, and with this Doombringer almost hitting level 6, it's going to be difficult if they do want to put pressure out on TMW for him to survive against a 3-man gank.
One other thing to note is KuroKy has managed to go and pick up his level 4, and I don't think he's put in his last point yet, but I can't believe its stats. Let me do some counting, but I'll do it later. But the fact that he's hit level 4, he's not put another point in. There you go. But the fact that he's hit level 4 is fairly impressive. They weren't able to kill. They only killed him once top, and after that he just leashed experience fairly well and managed to keep the tower in deny range, and I think they actually want to hold on to that now. At this point in the game, with the Doom hitting level 6, they are going to want to defend that. So looking at Doom's gold, he's sitting dangerously close to a Midas. This might just be Mouz's strategy right here. Turtle, 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 and eventually go into really big items. Great gank
is coming on down. Yeah, that's a lot of damage coming out with that Rocket Barrage. The Dream Coil comes out, but it's too much to deal with, and Fada's going to pick up that kill. Really nice combination of the telekinesis and the call down coming on through, making sure that after that illusory orb was on cooldown, they knew their timing to go in, and they were able to make him pay for it.
Yep, definitely baited out the orb from the Puck, and when as soon as it hits nighttime, you can't go and see over the high ground. So Puck thought he was completely safe, balled out of the homing missile, didn't even move back, and it just put him in a really, really dangerous position. That just goes to show how strong, good rotation from your supports is. I think Gyrocopter was actually, not doing so well in that lane, but he's, I'd say, in a fairly dominant position now.
For sure, for sure. In the meantime, Juggernaut is just kind of farming away. Boots and Drum has a very large mobility-oriented build, which doesn't necessarily coincide with the Blade Fury, because he's only put it to rank 1 instead of 4, which is albeit uncommon. But the fact that he has a Wisp and allows him to close the distance really, really quickly is really effective in the sense that they're able to just go across and he can just right-click hardcore, and now Fada is crossing eyes with KSI. There comes the Barrage to start things off. He's going to have to pop the Nightmare, but the haste comes out. Where's the Nightmare? He's not popping off at all, and I don't know exactly why that was, but
he would have died if the turn animation's too long. He would have actually just died if he turned.
Okay. Well, it looks like
because the homing missile was already on
heading up top. He does have that haste rune still active, so he wants to put some pressure on Airman, but for the time being, just going to find farm where he can get it. So getting a nice solo kill, and then looking to just counter push out a little bit.
And Bane does have that Midas, so at this point, Virtus.Pro is on a clock. They're playing against a double Midas team, and one of those Midases is on a Doombringer, and on top of that, their solo mid was a Gyrocopter. This is a very farm-oriented team, and if they don't get something done within the next, 15 minutes, they're going to have a really rough time. Bot lane looks like KS is...
Yeah, he's going to pop off that Nightmare on himself, but with the Thunder Strikes to negate it, they're actually going to be able to dish out a lot of damage right here. Now Santa in pursuit of Black. He is on pretty low life without Infest, and now that Juggernaut is here, I think Black is going to go down just from the Surge Ion Shell. There's really no way for him to get out of that after this next right click. In the meantime, Disruptor and KuroKy were both dropped down there. Juggernaut picking up one of the kills, Puck taking the other one, and wow, Black survived. What happened there?
Midas? Oh, yeah.
He just
ran.
Yeah, rank 2 Surge, apparently not strong enough. I thought he could easily close the distance for that last right click, but obviously not the case. So Santa, a little bit sad about that, as, I mean, the carry kill at this stage in the game is priceless. We really, really need to stay on top of him there. So I kind of assumed Black was left for dead there, but he indeed was able to just shamble on out of there, even with just regular boots of speed. So effective enough, and that allows him to stay alive and keep farming, which is obviously what he intends to do, moving past 5k net worth. And yeah, he has the Midas still on cooldown, so he'll keep on keeping on with that. And I completely agree with what you're saying about the Doombringer's Midas. The fact that he has rank 4 Devourer, has a Midas of his own, the gold is just going to continue to accumulate with Mouz's team in general. They don't even have to do anything but just farm up jungle creeps, and they'll immediately shoot up in a rather massive advantage. We're going to see that coming into play very, very shortly. But in the meantime, there is some pressure on the mid lane. 3 heroes committed here. And it looks like Santa's going to take a little bit of homing missile damage, but nothing coming out too far beyond that, as there are 3 to counter push. NS has his relocate available, but for the time being, Juggernaut is going to be in the Radiant jungle, not really able to, coordinate with him.
Yep, it seems like the Black is also very close to his armlet, so he actually might want to join fights fairly soon. Once this Doom goes and finishes his phase boots and maybe picks up a drum, even just a bracer for some survivability, they do have a pretty reasonable team fight, even though they've committed, 2,000 gold to that Midas. They got it at a very quick time.
Nice Green Coil coming out, but the call down follows through on multiple, the vacuum pulling on back, and that is just a lot of damage. I believe it's telekinesis there. Juggernaut doesn't have his Blade Fury up for this one here, and with the Doom coming out, Puck should fall unless he gets denied on out, but Airman is able to do a lot of damage on the front line, just critting away. And yeah, he's going to survive, and now Wisp using his Tranquils and now relocating TMW back to base to survive. It's a really nice play there, and oh my gosh, Juggernaut finding out a Doombringer without even using his Omni Slash. Ultra kill for him because he popped off the phase boots, and we're just able to close the distance. A little bit underestimation there, but now underestimating Kurokai and getting pulled back into his demise.
Yeah, that was a little bit greedy right there. I think he thought he could go and get his Omni Slash off, but just not in time. The fact that it's instant gas, but Kuroki's definitely going to pay with his life.
Yeah, Tether locking down there guaranteed the kill, and that sets him up to take this tier 1 tower as well. It's dropping pretty low so far, and I gotta say, I'm just impressed with how much Juggernaut was able to do without the Wisp tethered to him and without the Omni Slash available. So that was actually insane what accomplished there, but nice little glimpse pulling back. NS does not get stuck out. He does have 5 seconds before his tether, and he should be able to get on out one way or another, but the homing missile is currently in pursuit. They're not going to follow up on it, though.
Yes, that's a rank 1 homing missile, so it's not going to do quite enough damage. And also, Wisp is just fairly speedy with those Tranquil boots. I feel like that was a fight where without the lifesteal they couldn't really take it, and Juggernaut, with that max crit, it's not even that he got lucky, he just crits a lot, and that's a ton of damage. With that Yasha already finished, a lot of attack speed, a lot of damage, and the focus on the Radiant team wasn't that crisp. They also didn't go and take out the healing ward.
Like the gank on to the Doombringer, he does have a Satyr's steal, but with this Omni Slash coming out as well as that Brain Stab, nice burst damage coming Airman. He's going to pick up another kill for himself. Just picking up that Yasha using so much mobility. It has a 10% movement speed on that, as well as a lot of good attack speed. For those that you don't know, there are slashes that do occur between the higher ranks of Omni Slash if you have enough attack speed to support it, and that's exactly the build that Airman has available to him. So it's been really, really effective so far, dishing out a ton of physical damage, and of course, Doombringer, not enough armor, only 1 to survive up against that, so that is going to be very difficult. And now they're going to go for the Roche with the healing ward available. They can easily take this unless it's contested, which I don't feel Mouz has the lineup that can do that at this stage in the game.
Yep, even though the Gyrocopter is 4-1, he's just not quite strong enough to really go up against this. Still only sitting at level 10 even, so doesn't even have access to that level 2 cooldown. They kind of have to seed it. But while they've gone and lost their tier 1 middle, but that entire time the Naix was farming, and he has finished his armlet. He's sitting at another 750 gold. And are they actually? This is a little bit late. I think this was.
They were hoping it was still up for about 25%, but the damage comes out. Black trying to dish out onto KSI, finish the job, but the Fiend's Grip comes out. Instead, he gets Fade Bolted on down. Airman dishing out a lot onto Black, but now Telekinesis comes up. Beautiful wall. They still have the mechanism, I think. No, popped it off already, but there's just a spin going on through. They have the Aegis on Juggernaut, willing to commit him right here if they can follow up with it, but in the meantime, Puck has to buy back and actually leaves Airman in a pretty bad spot, tethering him on away. Going to try to recall him out. Relocate is successful. But they get glimpsed back. They glimpse back the Juggernaut. He gets pulled back into it. And Wisp is also going to have to return as well. So they're going to let TMW walk away from this, but they're also going to take the Wisp. What? Oh! Popping off a beautiful telekinesis during the orb after the phase shift before the jaunt came through. They're going to pick up that kill, and the tether interrupted on the Wisp means that he might be locked down as well. But the glimpse being on CD, Ats cannot close the distance there. But even so, that was an amazing fight for them, despite being a little late to the party as far as Roshan goes.
Oh man, that was actually insane. the play coming out from Mouz was so crisp. It really shows they've been playing together a lot, and they know exactly where to be going. The kind of thing that separates, you know, these kind of mid-skilled, like, amateur teams from pros like Mouz, like VP, is the complete precision they have in team fights. That was insane to watch, and I'm really, really impressed by their play. They also, with that, they've gotten levels, and they have a level advantage, and managing to kill the Juggernaut at this stage was really important. That would have been his Manta style if he had been able to survive.
Yep. And Airman actually getting the Omni Slash off to close the distance and finish off Kurokai. Very unfortunate, he's running on low HP and just gets picked off there by himself. In the meantime, Black pushing on the bottom lane, putting some damage in the tower, and pulling up to the top of the last hits once more, so staying on top of things there. But the Juggernaut Manta style is almost finished up. In conjunction with Santa's mechanism, they can do a lot with that. Just a huge amount of damage output right there. But beyond that, Santa is smoking up with KSI, looking for a pickoff here, heading in towards Lifestealer down bottom, but Black just going to TP on away. Good general map awareness and knowing, actually I think it was seen, yeah, it must have been seen with this beautiful placement of the Observer Ward. They would have had full vision on that, and he's just going to be like, okay, don't want to be caught out by myself. Gonna instead be in a safe position, and that means that Santa and KSI are just wasting their time for the time being. As far as levels go, we do see level 8 on the Wisp and Bane, as well as the Disruptor. But honestly, everybody seems pretty on par. There's nobody, no major outliers on carries or supports. So everybody's a little bit right where they should be. I feel Darkseer might have been benefited getting a little bit more experience than he already has, but all in all, he'll have that rank 2 Wall Replica in a couple levels, and from there, he'll be in a decent position.
Yeah, it looks like Doom's also going for a quick Vlads, and I think that's
a big gank up top. Kurokai just gets completely picked off. There goes Relocate, and there's really nothing you can do about that. But as far as Doom's items?
Yeah, he's going for a Vlads, and I think it's a great item because it fixes his like original armor issues, and more than that, it gives Nyx an additional source of lifesteal and just allows him to go for more and more and more and more damage. We might even go and see that Desolator you were mentioning earlier, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised just to see a straight MKB because eventually that
Ooh, big wall into the vacuum. They're trying to pull them on in. The Glimpse and comes out, but the Doom comes down on Airman. The Bane is taking a lot of damage. Should fall to one more. No, gets the Brain Sap off for the time being. Black will get Fiend's Gripped up, though. Airman dishing out a lot of damage there. The Glimpse interrupts, actually, on the Bane, so that he won't be able to follow that through. In the meantime, Lifestealer trying to duke it out with Airman, but with that Manta style, he just can't compete with the damage. A Waning Rift to finish him off. TMW now Ats in a terrible spot right now, and with the Theta's cooldown of the call down, he can't really do anything to help him out. Ats is going to get spinned down, Earn to make sure of it, and from there, they have this team fight under their control completely. Even the Manta style illusions just critting away, and Kurokai on low life. One more right click is all they need. TMW gets the kill there. Looking at PAS, taking a lot of damage from Wisp and from Juggernaut, and they finish him off as well. So the Wisp taking a double kill and all that, but man, oh man, that was a really good fight for them. Taking down 4 kills, not losing hardly anything at all. And they're going to be obviously taking the tower on top of that. And Theta was trying to juke on out. He didn't have the TP scroll on him, and now he's just getting spinned on down for the time being. It's 4 versus 1. There's really no hope for that specifically. And yeah, it looks like Theta's going to get crit up and drop down as well as the tower to take a fall. So this is going to be a gigantic swing in gold and experience in favor of Virtus.Pro right here. And this is the team fight they needed.
Yes, because it was actually starting to even out a little bit. They had a huge momentum in the early game, doing those fast 2 towers on the top lane. But after that, it kind of petered out, and the score was actually even for a while. But with that huge team fight, they were able to kill everyone. The Nyx has already been forced to buy out once this game, so they're just not having the kind of farm advantage they were looking for once they got to this point. However, the Vlad's is up. The Nyx still is doing a ton of damage, and I feel if they're able to go and not get gone on and fight all at the same time, they can be much, much better. But here's the Rubik falls again.
Yeah, just over positioned. It's really, I don't know why he thinks he needs to be that close to the tower without any support from his allies there, and just a little bit of a misstep. If the allies could have reinforced it, would have been great. Speaking of Lifesteal coming on in, the Doom comes out on Airman, but they can't. They have to glimpse him back in. They indeed do. So he is stuck, and with NS's tether broken, he can't relocate him to safety. So he is completely locked down. Lifestealer coming out of the Fiend's Grip wants some vengeance on this KSI. Currently Dream called up, that expires. At's taking a lot of damage, but I don't think KSI has enough burst with just the right clicks alone to kill him, and instead just takes a fall himself. So that was really, really good for them to be able to TP on in that, and they got the focus they needed on the Juggernaut. Breaking off NS's tether there is exactly what set them up for that kill, which is what they were looking for pretty much all game long, as he's only died 3 times now in addition to that.
Yep, and you know, now that Doom even got access into level 11, while the duration on Doom does not go up, the increase in damage is super relevant, especially when you're looking at heroes like this Juggernaut, who if he does not have that healing ward going and he's not able to, you know, spin out of the majority of the damage, he actually falls fairly quickly. He doesn't have that much strength. The drums do help a lot with that, but since he went for phase boots, he's not as tanky as he could have been. Meanwhile, on the top lane, it looks like Santa has managed to finish his mechanism. He's had it in the last couple fights as well, and I'm curious to see if he's going to be the one going for that pipe next. Pipe isn't going to be tremendously useful against the Radiant lineup, but still, Call Down does a reasonable amount of damage, and if you're able to negate the damage from both Failboat and the Disruptor ultimate, which, you know, if set up properly, does a huge amount of damage, it is still fairly useful. However, perhaps it's just better to go straight Ags at this point and just, you know, really try to go and get that... mess up the positioning on the Radiant team.
Yeah. Actually, Santa's had that mech for quite some time, 6 or 7 minutes now. He had it in the Roche fight, and that was really, really effective for them. So they have used it to great avail, but he needs to catch up. Like I said, he's got his experience up for a rank 2 wall, and that's going to help him quite a bit. But the more durable he can be is going to be how relevant he can really commit to the team fight. If he gets a pipe on top of what he's already put down, the call down won't be able to finish off the wall of replica illusions, and from there they can actually make it so that they can... use the enemy stats against them and dish out that damage in turn. Because right now the flat cannon call down is pretty much sufficient if it's popped right on top of the wall of replica to negate the benefit of all those illusions, but with a pipe they could really do a lot where they can actually take the damage from their opponents and send it right back the other direction. When you have heroes like a Lifesteal with an armlet, that's going to be a big deal. And now coming out with a Blink Dagger, he has the initiation he needs to kind of find the position that he's looking for.
Right.
They already have the Wisp Juggernaut to jump into the fray really aggressively. They need the Darkseer to follow up immediately after that, and with this Blink Dagger, they have that opportunity.
Yep, I'm really afraid for Kuroki. He's been caught out a couple times now, and I think they really want him to be in the beginning of fights. The telekinesis is vital dealing with that Juggernaut. Picking him up before he's able to get his spin-off, and even the same, before the... now that the Darkseer has his Blink Dagger, it's a little bit less important, but still fairly crucial that Kuroki keeps himself alive. He really should just stay in the back and wait. He's fairly close to having a Force Staff as well, so I wouldn't even mind if he just, you know, they tried to go and wait for that. It seems strange to go and wait on fights until your support gets an item, but when it's a Rubik and it's an item like a Force Staff, it's very, very useful. That will allow them to get pickoffs on heroes like the Pup, like this. Oh, he's going to go
really,
down.
really nice callback, and they're going to be able to bring down Airman 100%. There's nothing they can do, and he's going to buy back and TP onto... Oh, no, he's going to get recalled back, but that's 12-second delay. In the meantime, Santa taking a lot of damage. Level question mark death isn't going to hit the spot, but KSI is definitely going to drop down here. Coming back on in. Oh, he TP'd back to relocate in. Either way, a lot of damage coming out now. Airman dishing out completely on PIS, focusing his target there. Omni Slash is on cooldown. Almost gets him, but he's just going to be able to move away with that Scorched Earth and Phase Boots movement speed. In the meantime, Veta on low life. There is going to be the kill from Airman onto him, but it looks like Black might get out again. There was a steal on the Fiend's Grip, and that's going to be the death of TMW, and both of them going to walk away from there. It looks like Airman really wants that kill, but I gotta say, even though that wasn't really the fight Virtus.Pro was looking for, I love the play from NS. I thought that he relocated out and had a 12-second delay coming in, but he actually, I believe, TP'd out back to base and then relocated the Juggernaut into the fray, which made the fight much better than what it would have been.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say this. If you ever want to see 6 support plays, and this goes to all the viewers, just check out NS. Like, he is actually mind-blowingly, stupidly good at Dota. Every time you watch him, you're like, wow, I didn't think of that. That is the correct decision, and everything I have been doing, I guess, is just kind of wrong. Like, NS is insane. Black was able to survive that fight through really, really good armlet toggling as well, so that should be noted. But Black's really peed off his farm. He's sitting at 4k gold right now, but when you consider, you know, how early he got his armlet and his Midas, this isn't what you're looking for in 20 minutes of Nakes that did not participate in the first, 12 minutes of fights.
Yeah,
he's died only twice, but he is bought out, I believe, in both occasions.
Yeah, one big issue is he hasn't really been getting the kills and assists. He's been in the action, but VP just isn't dying right now. There's mechanisms, there's wish saves, so on and so forth.
And there's a DD. I think this is actually going to be a pretty huge fight coming up right now.
Yeah. For sure, for sure. So double damage comes on out. They're going to be able to nab that real quick to make sure the enemy doesn't have it available. But beyond that, the pressure is actually coming out through multiple different facets. The top lane is always available to jump on in with that relocate. But beyond that, they have to be in a good position themselves. So they do have 3 here and have the potential to relocate on in.
Blink Dagger as well.
Yeah, so nice damage coming into Az. He's going to get dropped down really, really quickly. The Disruptor Kinetic Field doing a lot to Santa. He can't actually pop off any cooldown, so he's going to take too much damage, possibly drop. No, the Nightmare keeps him alive for the time being. Fata just trying to do some incidental damage to that Rock Barrage. Going to be able to get a second kill there. And now there is going to be that counter relocate, sending the Wisp and the Juggernaut back to the top lane. So buyback from the Bane. But all in all, I got to say that VP just took way too many hits there before the relocate came on out. And it was an interesting position, but all in all, that was just really, really bad for them. They are going to put some damage into this tower here, but I feel it can be contested with the appropriate TPs, even without the cooldowns available.
Yeah, I don't think they're actually going to be able to really get a kill here. The move speed is just a little bit too high. But, they're not going to go and take that much damage on the tower. Well, it did drop up to about, 2/3, so that was very relevant. And getting that damage is pretty necessary, because while we were saying that, have been saying that the farm isn't as great on the Radiant lineup as it probably could have been, it's still, fairly impressive, and they do still have 2 Midases up. Also, that at this point, that's still a level 1 homing missile. He's gone for stats instead, and I think that might be the right decision. Homing missiles damage and stun duration doesn't scale that well, and the additional mana cost is actually fairly prohibitive.
Smoke coming out from Mousesports, and one thing I gotta say is Kurkai's timing of this Blink Dagger is rather impressive. Like, I didn't see that coming whatsoever. An interesting position of the Bane right now, but the fact is they are going into the Roche pit. There is a wall replica only on Doom for the time being. That Dream Coil does hit on Fatal though, and with his Omni Slash doing so much damage, they're getting completely wrecked right now. Fat on low life should take a fall. Airman gonna make sure that the Disruptor goes in the grave. Kurkai gonna fall shortly after. Blink Dagger not gonna be an option there, and Lifestealer is just running, trying to escape on out of this, but the movement speed disadvantage. He has to pop his Rage and his TP and just run for the hills. He does have an Orchid up, but wasn't really able to use it to much effect, and instead it's just gonna be the death of 3 Mouse heroes and the Roche in favor of Virtus.Pro.
Yes, I think that's a serious problem in positioning coming out from Mouz. They really, really, really need to make sure the Nakes is on the front line so he can just run at the enemy supports like that Darkseer and like that Wisp. If they don't have the Nakes to kind of just prevent the supports from casting all their spells, they're going to have a very, very rough time.
On TMW going up against PAS. Here comes a Relocate to come on in. They're going to be able to bring down Doom for sure. Clicking him down real quick. Now Juggernaut in Black in a bad spot. He is just going. He has to armlet toggle perfectly if he's going to survive against this. And Dream Coil coming out, but he does get the last armlet toggle, so he will survive. And instead, Kurokai jumps into his death. He has that Blink Dagger, but he doesn't have any HP to really go in a good position with it. So all in all, he just gets completely incinerated the second he shows his face. But it at least keeps a little bit of distraction coming in from Black there.
Yes, and also it looks like Black has gone for an Orchid instead of that MKB. I think that's also a very smart decision if he's looking to run into those enemy supports and kind of prevent them from doing anything. That, alongside with the Doom and the Disruptor ulti, should go and give them a lot of presence in teamfights, but unfortunately he's going to go against a Juggernaut who's just about finished his entire Butterfly, and I don't know how they're going to be able to take down this Juggernaut in fights anymore. Also, Juggernaut has been going for stats as well. Like, again, Blade Fury isn't that relevant at this point, and the cooldown duration, the cooldown shortening is nice, but again, not that useful. So stats are so good on a hero with a Manta style.
For sure, for sure. So that's going to help them out quite a bit. Looking back at the goal graph, surprisingly, Mouse has not been able to stay on top of things. I mean, that's not too much of a surprise given the kill advantage that's just been coming out, as well as both Roshans going in favor of Virtus.Pro. So they have a nice advantage in general, but with all these Midases and these Devourers, we're talking about how they add up. But if you have a Doombringer and a double Midas lineup, and you're still behind on gold, there is a problem. And it's definitely these team fights that are just been breaking out and always going in favor of Virtus.Pro, generally speaking. So now we see the opportunity for them to pretty much initiate wherever they want. They have the Blink on the Puck and on the Darkseer as well. They also have the Relocate at all times available for the other two. So Bane's pretty much the only one they have to care about positioning for, and the other ones can just respond based on that.
Yes, I mean, but now I think it's coming to the point where the Mouse lineup is fairly strong. The BKB is up on the Gyrocopter, and Doom has finished his Shivas, which will do a great job in dealing with those Manta-style illusions coming from the Juggernaut. I don't know if it'll be enough for them to actually win a team fight, but with proper engaging, they have a Doom, they have an Orchid, they have great ultimates from the they have a great ultimate from the Disruptor, and the Gyrocopter ultimate synergizes very well with that. They have a chance now. They have a chance now, and there are multiple threats that they're going to have to contend with, because a BKB Gyrocopter is going to require the attention of the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut can no longer just sit on the Nakes and sit on the supports. So, relatively speaking, Mouse is much better right now than they were 2 minutes ago when they lost that 5-man, but again, with that Butterfly on Juggernaut, I just don't know if they'll be able to kill him.
Oh, nice. On the KSI, there is a Fiend's Grip coming out. Burst damage coming on through, and Airman is in the fray. Nice wall replica. Black is in a terrible spot. Gets completely incinerated and doesn't even stand a chance. It was just catching them both off guard 100%. Has to force the buyback, and he's already short on gold in the first place. So this tower might be dropped down right here. That all is based on positioning here, as the Kinetic Field and the Static Storm can do quite a bit, but pulling him in, can he jaunt on out in time? He does. Actually, before the Static Storm takes effect, he's able to cast the jaunt, but now Doom comes out on Juggernaut in a terrible spot. The Aegis will pop off. He has that Butterfly, can evade very effectively, but I don't know if VP has enough to pull him out of this situation. Coming on in, they do pop up another vacuum. He's just going to Omni Slash on through, still had that cooldown up, and he's just going to incinerate the enemy team. So much damage coming out of that rank 3 Omni, and instead he's going to be able to take out 3 heroes to the grave and walk away to take the tower, take the racks, and possibly force the GG. I don't think Mouz wants to give it up just yet, but they are in a dire spot right now.
Oh man, I'm gonna prevent myself from making the terrible jokes, but no, I do believe that Virtus.Pro has taken this game. They've just got a little bit too far ahead in the early game. It came down to 2 bad team fights where Mouz got wiped, and I feel like it was just a matter of seconds on all the spells. But you know, fantastic play also coming out from the Dire team. We've gone and seen the NS make sick relocate ganks. This puck play has been absolutely immaculate, going and causing them a ton of havoc, and I think the puck's even going to get away even now.
Yeah, making sure of it there, and he's just been in a really great spot. I gotta say that jaunt timing was 100% perfect. In the few frames that you're not affected by the debuff of the Disruptor's ultimate, he got the ethereal jaunt off. Perfect timing, to great effect, and that was just insane to make sure that he
was some
survived
Modo
there.
shit. Like, that was amazing.
And on top of that, they've just been able to dominate throughout, control the map effectively. They've been farming up in the enemy's jungle multiple times over, and with Juggernaut having this butterfly, he has such a severe advantage right now. The fact is, Lifestealer went for an Orchid instead of an MKB, and he cannot pierce through that evasion. He will miss 1/3 of the time, and from there, it's going to be difficult to actually get that physical damage on that one target. So we saw how quickly he was incinerated by himself. That's no surprise. That's just how Dota works. But on top of that, if he goes toe-to-toe in a 5v5, it's still going to be difficult to keep up as far as damage output goes, because the Orchid is, like you said, great for picking off supports. It is kind of synergetic, if not redundant, in the fact that you have a Doom, so you can silence off one person for 15 seconds, silence another for a good amount of time as well. So with those 5 seconds of the Orchid silence, you pretty much nullify 2 supports' potential to pretty much do anything whatsoever, as well as amplifying the damage they receive. But without having the damage up front with that MKB, it's going to put them in a pretty bad spot. So now they're trying to make something happen. Fata does have double damage for a little bit longer, but it's going to expire before this smoke does. And now they go in on KSI. No, they're going to flank up. During the nighttime, they don't have vision of where the enemy is, and from there they had absolutely no idea. They just walked right on by, and the only smoke that expired was on Black himself. So that was really, really close, but didn't find the opportunity. Now moving in towards NS and Airman, but it seems like they're in a position aware enough to be able to fall on out of here. The question is the timing of it.
Yeah, I think this is a great move from Mouz, but it just didn't pay off. It was a matter of seconds of not being able to go and pick up those heroes mid. But even then, if they went on, they have finished a Hex on that puck, and I believe Santa is getting, you know, fairly close to his Ags, so they're pretty hard to take down.
That's a phase shift. He didn't cancel it out. He is getting orchided up for the time being. Too much damage coming out. A little bit of misplay by Puck. Yeah. I'm not sure if he tried to phase shift cancel his own TP, or if he just tried to bait it out where his allies could accomplish something. But all in all, they're going to be taking the tier 2 shortly. And oh, wow. I'm finding out Kurokai again. That's just what they do nowadays, apparently. But anyways, looking at Black right now, there is a pullback from PAS. The wall replica does come out, but hits on no one for the time being. Doom on Airman puts him in a terrible spot. They've done this all game long, and it's been to great effect. This is how they continuously pick him off. Wisp gets negated. His relocate back is completely glimpsed off, and that means that he's going to be dropped down here for no trouble at all. Now looking at Santa, he is surging away with rank 4, so the open wounds won't be able to close the distance, but they still got quite a few free kills out of that. The Puck TPing up top, and then the Juggernaut and the Wisp in that position there. I mean, the Bane did drop down collaterally, but I don't feel that that was out of misposition. That was, in general, just because of the fact that he's Bane, and if he doesn't have a whole bunch of individuals in front of him, like the Juggernaut and Darkseer, he's going to take a fall. So, in general, that was what Mouz needs to stay in the game, but they're still down to racks, and that lane is continually pressuring their base. Along with that, they're not going to get as much income out of it. So,
yeah, again, that was a little bit of a misplay on the Dire's team. They basically, the Juggernaut ulted at the same time that the Wisp tether hit, so I guess it's not quite a misplay, but it's definitely unlucky for them, because they could have easily picked off both of they could have easily picked off the Gyrocopter as well as the Rubik. Instead, they focused both of the mini-stuns on the tether and on the... Excuse me, I'm just going to get some water real fast. But stuns didn't land up right, and they ended up missing a kill.
Sure. And along with that, the Shiva's coming out for the Doombringer, really setting them up to actually turn things around in the teamfight. If they can get a good static kinetic and glimpse somebody back in, they have so much teamfight potential with that Shiva's. They can dish out the damage. There's not too much to nullify it, other than a mechanism right now. The pipe isn't going to be coming anytime soon. As far as I can tell, the Aghanims is being worked on for Santa. TMW is going for that Scythe. So, yeah, it looks like that pipe is not going to be coming forth whatsoever. So I'll call down on a good kinetic static on top of a Shiva's, and then following that up with, let's say, the 1.75 second stun of the Telekinesis and the Orchid and Doom coming out on top of that. I mean, they have so much silence, they have so much control, they just need VP to kind of misposition themselves like we saw last time.
Okay, and I am in fact back. And
okay, Fiend's Grip coming out onto Black. A lot of damage can be coming in from this. They have to pop out the Telekinesis. They indeed do, as well as stealing the Fiend's Grip. Now trying to put it on somebody else. Santa taking a lot of damage, but in the meantime, Omni Slash on the southwestern end. Going to be able to finish off Kurokai before the Fiend's Grip can even expire. Black is silenced up at the time being. Dream Coil comes on out. Too much damage coming forth. Nice Infest, though. Getting a lot of kills out that, whether creeps or heroes, but either way, buyback popped off by the Juggernaut. TMW is going up against Lifesteal. We're going to armlet toggle, but has the blink after the phase shift and will survive. Airman back in with the help of the Wisp, and will be able to bring down the Gyrocopter Feta, getting just closed in on inside his trees. Now looking at Ats, they have such movement. They pop off the drums. The Glimpse pulls him back, though. The last crit! Last second crit coming out. Wow, that looked hilarious. It's just like throwing his sword out there as he flies away. But yeah, getting the kill on the Disruptor, perfect timing for that Blade Dance to proc. And now they can push in pretty aggressively here, even though they did commit the buyback.
That was so lucky there. I mean, wow, I did not think... I would be so mad if I was the Disruptor right now. I would be so mad.
Wow.
That was awful for them. And, you know, they're going to be able to go high ground here. This healing board's going to be up in another second, and they also have 2 more drum charges. This Juggernaut's not even used 4 of his drum charges this game, and he's managed to go 17 and 6.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So he's been on top of things in general. Like, he's been out throughout team fights and getting big kills. I mean, he got an ultra kill with mid without popping a single cooldown, including Omni. Like, he just walks in, his team sets him up for big right clicks, and he follows up. That's just what he's been doing all game long. And we're seeing why Juggernaut is still considered a carry. He might not be the hardest carry in the game, but boy, can he hit hard under the right conditions. And these are the conditions exactly as Virtus.Pro has set him up for. And now they're going to go for Roche because they do have an Aghanim Scepter Wall of Replica available, and they're ready. They're like, come at us, we can take it. We have a cheese Roche, and if you don't contest it, we're just going to get tons of benefits out of this. So with that, Mouz is just going to have to turtle up in their base, and having to fight off 2 Juggernauts right now for the next 6 minutes is going to be wreaking havoc with their psychological aspect of things. They are having a hard enough time beating them once, and then the buyback with the Wisp action, it brings them in a second time, but having 3 Juggernauts to possibly have to deal with, really, it might be just overwhelming for them right here.
Yeah, another thing that I don't think we mentioned earlier is how much this Wisp is healing the people he's tethered to when that healing ward is up. Like, that is a double healing ward proc for whoever is tethered, and that, I think, is going in kind of tipping team fights in their favor, because it's already almost impossible to fight through healing ward, but when a Juggernaut is getting twice that bonus, and whatever the Wisp is able to give him naturally through perhaps an Urn and Tranquil Boots, you can't really kill him at all.
Yeah, that is definitely something to consider. It's based on the percentage of the HP of both heroes. So Juggernaut, if it's tethered to Juggernaut, then he's going to be healed by his own ward as well as whatever Wisp receives times 1.5. So that is very substantial. You can't apply the standard math of 2.5 times for that kind of AoE healing because it's based on percentage HPs, but it's still extreme amounts of healing. And on top of that, the Butterfly and the Basher, you can just keep fighting all day long. And now they're going to go for the tower. They don't even know if they can contest this. Coming in, there comes the kinetic. Are they going to get a good static on top of that? The spin comes out. Still right-clicking down the tower, as that's just how the magnetic works. But the Doom comes through. Tons of damage on the Juggernaut. They will force the first kill down on him. The kinetic field, or sorry, Static Storm on cooldown. A Bane pops off the Nightmare on Puck. Churns out the Fiend's Grip onto Lifestealer, glimpsing him back to interrupt it. But now there's just so much damage coming out. The Wall of Replica, Feta taking too much damage. Going to get dropped down with a beautiful bash proc coming out of Airman. And that second wall walking on through. Black is going to take a fall, take Darkseer with him. But it's just too much damage coming on out. Okay, he just jumps into the tether and the healing ward. Look at the Airman's health just fly up right here. That is exactly what you're talking about. And the overload comes on through to enable him to dish out that damage. Manta style out of the Orchid. Manta style out of the Orchid. Now they're doing so much damage. Black gets bashed up, gets burned down with that crit. At's going to fall as well. Ultra kill for him. Look at the Rampage. And now he's spinning on to PAS. Wants to finish this off. They need to give it to him. But either way, this might just be the game itself. PAS Rampage. Airman picking that up with a Juggernaut. Level 23. Sitting at 700 GPM. Taking the entire team down. And Kurokai is in to just kind of watch as his base falls.
He didn't even Omni that entire fight. He just walked at them. This hero does so much damage, and I think, you know, with that additional attack speed steroid, this Basher was a great buy too. That he just kept on proccing. Wow, you were right, Lace. You were right. Well, this hero is a carry, and you know I don't think teams have been respecting that enough because he is Virtus.Pro is putting on a clinic this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he does have, like I said, all the setup in the world with the Darkseer, with the Bane getting some disable on the left, so even taking 3 seconds out of his DPS time really screws him over. And I gotta say, a lot of that came down to some lucky bashes, both on the Lifestealer and on the Disruptor. But all in all, the Airman did the damage he needed to. The Overload set him up, and actually now they're in a really bad spot. Phaeton doing a lot of damage with the call down, pulling him telekinesis into the fountain. Manta Styles out to disjoin it, but he will drop down. Maybe popping off. Is the buyback available? It's not for 12 seconds, so we'll have to see. With NS dropping down, I don't think there's much that can be done. Except, yeah, Wish can buy back along with the Juggernaut, and they can relocate back on in to try to finish this off. But the big thing is that the racks have fallen. This is a good game at this point in time. They haven't called it just yet, but I would call this an unofficial GG in the sense that with all the racks down, Airman coming back on in to pick up a few more kills, there's really not too much hope for Mouz at this stage of Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely must be being a pretty frustrating game for Mouz, because after being fairly down early, they managed to go and fight it back, and they had these 2 Midases, and they just lost out in a couple team fights. Black, particularly farmed amazingly in the early game. It wasn't quite enough on every single lane.
Yeah, so they're going to be delaying it for a while. Phase shift coming out on Puck, going to blink away for the time being. They don't have any way of really stopping him at this stage. So he's just going to be able to get... Holy crap, he's back in the base. DMW once more. Doesn't want to finish up just yet. But not fun, no. But all in all, of course, the Ancient will still stand, and they might just fight it out. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely it. There's no real hope beyond this. They don't have the Lifestealer farmed up with a Mjolnir or anything like that to cleave down on the creeps. So he's gonna eventually, it's gonna fall. The creeps are just way too tanky, have tons of damage, and at worst case, they can delay it out a few more minutes. I mean, if you have to go late game and deal with the Mega Creeps, I guess Gyrocopter is one of the best heroes to do that with, but all in all, there's just, with this, the fact that there are all Tier 2 standing for Virtus.Pro, they definitely have the control of the map to get the farm they need to make sure this game will end in no time at all. I mean, heck, they could just relocate it in and just chop down on the Ancient to most likely bring it down to critical HP, if not kill it.
Yeah, I think this is just... yesterday I said that Dota is a game of throws, and there's always a chance to come back. And while I stand by that statement, I don't think this is the team that's going to be able to do it, because the item level is fairly low.
For sure. So about 18,000 gold advantage and about 10k in experience. That isn't the biggest deficit we've ever seen, but the fact that there are 6 racks on top of that are completely down and not coming back anytime soon means that they're pretty much out of it. They're going to play it out a little bit longer, but with this Aghanim Scepter, that Omni Slash is just going to come on through, and we saw what he could do with the Omni Slash being on cooldown for pretty much all the fight. Now we're going to see with this, was it 12, 15 slash? No, 12 slashes is what it holds up to, and it just gets ridiculous at that point.
The other good thing about Omni Slash is, like, firstly, it makes you tanky because, you just get a ton of HP from the point booster in the Oracle Club. And secondly, it makes you tanky because you do a lot of damage through the team fight in a position where no one can hit you. It's like there's this, terrifying astral imprisonment running around and smacking you in the face with a giant sword. Because you can't deal with the Juggernaut, you can't hurt him while he's Omni Slash, and he comes down and, he's at full HP. If you initiate with Omni Slash, you can basically pick off 2 heroes, and then, go on to kill the last 3. It's just going to be easier and easier for Airman to get these kills. This game's going fairly long, though. I think.
Yeah. I mean, they know what's up. They're just kind of messing around. This is just Mouz having a little bit of fun before they move on to the next game. But all in all, the fact that it was delayed 1 hour in the first place, now we're looking at possibly 2 more games to go and delaying it out a little bit longer. It doesn't seem like that's the best course of action, but nice actual little vacuum, even though it is, of course, the enemy's disruption and kinetic field. A lot of damage coming out from Lifesteal. Might be able to chop down on Santa fast enough, and yeah, they pick off the Puck, they pick off the Darkseer as well, but here comes Airman, Omni Slash and cooldown, getting doomed up. He doesn't have Aegis or anything like that, so he will take a lot of damage, gets a kill, gets another, and just overload so much damage from that overload, and survives just barely before they finish off the Ancient there. So looking at the kills, 24, 8, and 19, anybody can be a carry when a Wisp is on the board, and there we go. So that's really what we're looking at. Virtus.Pro takes the win of Game 1. This is a best-of-3 series between Mouz and Virtus.Pro in the Premier League, and we're going to go on into the second game in just a little bit. But do you have any closing thoughts on this, how this played out?
I just think that there were a couple team fights where the Radiant lost, and they needed to have one of those team fights to get in the game. It just came down to small amounts of positioning, and at high-level Dota, that's how it goes down to. The game is balanced on the edge of a knife, and the first team to make a mistake is the team that's going to end up losing.
For sure, for sure. So that definitely worked out in Juggernaut's favor. I mean, he got an Ultra Kill early game. He got a Rampage later on. It really came down to how much damage he could put out. But like I said multiple times over, it was his team setting him up for it. Vacuum, Dream Coil, Wisp was over with Tether and Overcharge. Is just going to be setting them up to make him do all the damage he needs to. And easily finish him off. I mean, the Lifestealer could have contested it now that he had that Mjolnir, but that needed to be happening 10 minutes before. It didn't need to be at that case in time. You were talking about how when he was sitting on Midas Treads and Armlet, that he, and 4,000 gold, that he really needed just something to catapult him into late game Lifestealer mode, and that really wasn't, and the Orchid helped out in one extent, but not in the hard carry going up against the Juggernaut extent. So all in all, I think they did a really good job dooming up the Juggernaut and burning him down really quickly, but with the buybacks, with the nice play from NS on the relocates, always making sure Juggernaut can jump back in as if he was a Keeper of the Light, it's really solid, and they were able to keep him up and keep him going fighting, and in the end it's going to go to Virtus.Pro. So well played to them, and we'll move on to game 2 in just a minute, guys.
Yep, GG's, guys.